Hey everybody, welcome to episode 126 of Making It. I'm Bob Clagett here with Jimmy Diresta.
Hello, I'm back.
Hello, you're back. We also have David Picciuto.
I barely made it here. I couldn't find my headphones.
Oh.
There's just boxes of crap everywhere.
Are you moved yet? Is that what's going on? No, you're moving.
Oh, we move on Sunday.
Really?
Mm.
Yeah. Shop stays, but the rest of the house goes.
Wow, it's exciting.
Yeah.
So how much do you have packed?
Not enough. Not enough.
that was a long silence.
Yeah, we are so far behind, and a couple of wrenches have been thrown at me. So today's Tuesday. We normally record on Mondays. No, this is not a diss on you, Jimmy.
Okay.
Yeah, and so this kind of messes up the schedule for today. But then next week is 4th of July, and Eric is like, so Tuesday is the 4th of July. I'm like, oh crap. So when are we gonna film? And so it turns out we're gonna film tomorrow for next week's project. Ooh. And then sometime I got to edit this podcast and then pack and
You gotta make a shield to protect you from all those wrenches that are being thrown at you.
You are correct, sir.
Yep.
That would be a good project you could do tomorrow. A wrench shield.
Wrench shield.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. It's we're also moving on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Really?
At least yeah.
Oh, is it like a second truckload?
Yeah, the second and probably the biggest truckload of stuff for us. So all of my shop and office stuff, and then whatever else we can fit in there. So I'm with you, man. It's like packing, but still having to live. You know, can't pack everything until the last minute.
Do you guys feel that there's going to be a lapse? Because I'm at a point now where I'm a couple weeks behind. I'm already 3 days late on my vlog just because I traveled, and now today all day long I'm moving all day. Tomorrow I'm still moving. I'm down to the wire now. I got to kind of clean and sweep and decide what gets really thrown right in the garbage. So I'm wondering, like, once you guys are totally in between, you know, living here and tools are there, and do you think that's going to be much longer than you expect or less than you expect?
Oh, I think it's going to be much longer than I expect. I think it's going to make things not impossible, but a little bit more tough. And so I might try to do like real quick little projects that can be done in a couple hours and then edit it in a couple hours. We'll see. I do have a couple of videos that need to be edited, so I think I'm safe for the next like 2 or 3 weeks, and I won't miss any videos. But I've gotten way out of my 2 videos a week schedule. I can't get back to that, and I think it's going to be a while before I can get back to that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have a video for this week that's shot and not finished editing. I have next week's shot and not edited, and then today I threw together I had like 3 hours before we recorded. I got projects, but I'm with you. There's going to be like a lapse. It's just not going to be for a little while. Like, I've got enough built up. But as soon as we get to the new house, we have to start renovation. So, and that will be content, but it's not going to be fast content, you know?
That's the problem with doing like a room makeover, is that it takes a long time.
Yeah.
To get your beauty shots. It's almost like they sit on the computer forever until you get your beauty shots. Unless you just vlog about them, and then you can talk about them as you go.
I'm going to do probably a combination of both, but you know, that's main channel and second channel stuff, and so it's going to be kind of interesting to see how I balance that. And it's weird, like, you know, I got to do a whole bunch of flooring, but you can only show a little bit of that to get the point across. You can't show like, here's 400 square feet of flooring going down.
Well, time lapse is cool.
Same operation 300 times. Yeah, but I mean, it's still, you know, whatever, 2 days worth of work that you crunch down into 10 seconds or whatever.
Yep. 9 seconds.
You know, I've seen plenty of videos where people are doing woodworking, and they show the full 10 minutes of sanding and the 15 minutes of table saw cutting.
But are those good videos?
I don't want to say how I feel about them.
You're talking about me.
No, not you.
Okay.
Your videos are quick.
It's funny. The way my videos are cut, a lot of people think they're watching the entire sanding process and the entire, 30 screw holes or whatever. They think that's what they're watching. I just did an interview with, it's going to be on NPR, and I don't know when, but I did an interview. It's about video, YouTube stuff, and a friend of a friend recommended, got me involved in the article. And the interviewer kept saying that. He's like, well, you show every little detail. And I didn't. I said, yeah, well, I try and edit out some of the stuff, but he's like, no, I think I've watched every single screw you've put in. And I'm like, all right. If that's what he thinks he's watching, that's fine. You know? That's what I want people to think. Yeah. It's funny.
There's definitely an illusion to the videos. When you edit it down to like a 5 or 10 minute video, it makes it look pretty easy, and you don't see all the little mishaps and dropping this and dropping that and making the wrong cut. And
yeah. What's really weird is like the project that I did today. It from start to finish, like coming up with the idea to finishing it, every single shot that I needed, the talking to the camera, everything was an hour and a half. And that video will probably end up, the final product will probably be the same length as the one I did last week. Well, the one that will be out this week, which is like a piece of furniture. And it took 3 solid days of filming and building. And, you know, it's like way bigger, a lot more work. But when the edit gets all down to it, it's going to be about the same, which is just kind of weird. It's kind of disappointing in one way. You know what I mean? Because like the big work that you put in doesn't really get shown off in the same way at scale. But anyway, I'm looking forward to getting into the new shop and building some stuff in the new shop. It's kind of weird doing my final projects today. Like, I got a live stream tomorrow. That'll actually probably be the last thing in the current shop.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's gonna be kind of weird.
I feel emotional for you. I don't even know why.
I'm totally done in the shop. I think the last thing I made was that leather briefcase, that leather tool case. There's nothing I can do in there now except sweep the floor. Everything's out. Like, I had to bring the toolbox I typically carry in my truck. I'm going to use that to dismantle my saw stop, which is the last machine I'm going to move.
You mean your Festool?
No, my saw stop. I mean, did I say?
Festool bought saw stop.
Oh, did they? When did that happen?
I think it was announced yesterday or something like that.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And then I got an email today from Matt Howard. I'm going to get my brand new like heavy duty saw stop for my upstate shop. So now I'm going to be like Frank Hallworth. I'm going to have two table saws. You know, I'm changing. I'm sorry for everybody for them changing. I'm going to have 2 saw stops. I'm going to try and like put my foot in one and my hand in the other and make sure they both stop.
That is a viral video right there.
I like spread out and click. Yeah, so that he just emailed me today. I'm getting like the new one. It's like 5 or 7 horsepower with the heavier base. I go, hey, I'm going to be in a new shop. Is there anything you want to show off? And he says, yes, absolutely. And so he says, I'll send you a package. I said, okay, cool. And then he emailed me today as I'm taking apart the other one. And he said, what's your address? So I'm looking forward to that. Yep.
Nice.
That's cool.
So that's the only thing left in your old shop, and you have to be out in just a couple of days, right?
Yeah, but I think nobody's going in and not putting a for rent sign up. So I think they'll give me leniency to clean up. I mean, I know they're not going to want to do it. So if I tell them that I have a little bit more wood to get rid of, some of the guys that work in the system for the buildings is going to help me clean up. So once I say that's it, everything else is just garbage. You know, we're going to sweep up really good and just designate an area for just scrap wood. And I have a guy who's coming in for all the scrap metal. You know, we save every little cut off because it could be something. And now I have like thousands of pounds of cut off. I probably have about 1,000 pounds of metal just in scrap and lengths that are like too long to lean on the wall or that would fit in a bucket, but that are awkward.
That's some heavy metal.
It is definitely heavy metal. I moved it all around today, organized it, so my buddy's going to come and take all that, and that'll be out of my life. And then tons of scrap wood, and Jay Rivera from the Bronx is coming tonight. He's going to take some of the plastic, so hopefully he'll take a lot of the scrap that's there. So it's slowly getting down to just like the dusty floors, and that'll be it.
Nice. So awesome.
I'm going to leave the tables and stuff because the supers will use them, so I don't have to get all the furniture out. So that's good. I'm leaving the radial arm saw. They're going to find it in a couple 1,000 years and try and figure out what the hell it was for. It's a relic.
So are you working on any projects in the meantime then?
I have, yeah. I mean, I promised Rockler a video that would have been due today, but it's totally not even started. I did buy the material, so you know, you guys know I just went to Oklahoma, and that was almost like a 6 full day experience, and 4 of those days of driving. 5 days, literally driving for 4 full days, and hanging out for 1. So I got to like overlap the evening and the morning, so it felt like 2 days. So. On Sunday, I hung out till about 1 o'clock in Tulsa, and then left and drove till about 1 in the morning. So I got 12 hours of driving with a good hang in the morning. I hung out with SV Seeker.
Cool.
I went to SV Seek Doug's place, and I met Kressel. Kressel invited me, actually, and then I also met my buddy Tim, who's not a big social media guy, but Tim makes a thing, Two Guys Bow Ties. Are you guys familiar with them?
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
Tim.
Yeah, Tim is on Instagram. He knows you guys. And so I went and hung out with Tim at he's got a couple of facilities. He does a couple of side businesses. So he showed me his processing on his bow ties, his hats, and then he's in a new business venture now, which is pretty cool. He showed me that. And then he knows Doug. So he's like, oh, let's go over to Doug's because he's only just a couple miles away. So we drove over there together. And that was, the Sunday after the event. But the event itself was good. It was a lot of fun. I know this week you guys went to VidCon.
Yeah.
I was going to say the name in reverse. I was going to say Convid, and I know that wasn't right. So you guys went to Convid, and I went to the Oklahoma woodworking show that Nick Ferry and Ted Alexander put on, and it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. How was VidCon?
It was good.
That's it.
Good.
I did notice Casey's video today. He said he got like introverted to vlog because he looked around him and everybody was looking at themselves in their own camera. Was it really like that?
Oh
Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
He said so he said he just decided to like hang out and watch instead of just filming himself the whole time.
You know,
Yeah.
there was a Ferris wheel there this year. If that should just tell you everything you need to know.
Why? Too much? Too much? Too big? Too much?
It feels like two events
Yeah.
happening at the same time to me.
In what way?
Or maybe it should be two events. Like, okay, so the Ferris wheel, like in the middle of this big, there's the convention center, and then out in front of it, there's this big walkway, and there's food trucks, and there's like couple stages. You know, they have people play, and I don't know what the other people are doing. And there's a Ferris wheel out there. And this entire area is covered in, like 13-year-old kids. And they're all out there screaming at each other and like, oh, there's somebody famous over there. And everybody's got their camera out and there's like a billion selfies happening at the same time. There's that, and that's the same as the bottom floor of the convention center. And then you go up a floor and it's the creators. And the overall number of people drops by 75%. And the age goes up by 10 years. And then the third floor is the industry. And you go up there and the age goes by another 10 years. And it drops to where you look around the floor and you see like 2 people over there and 2 people over there. And there's like 4 people over there meeting, And it's like meetings and corporate stuff. And it's just weird because like as you go down throughout the building, it gets louder and it gets younger and it gets just more chaotic. And it feels like 2 separate events, like one for fans, one for people who just want to squee about people, and then people who actually want to get some information. But
do you get any of that, Bob? Do people see you and go, oh my God, this Bob Clagett?
No, I mean, I had some people who watch the channel, walk up and talk to me and stuff, but nothing.
I mean, do you get like 13-year-olds is what I'm saying?
Oh, no, of course not. They don't know. We're old people, man. They don't know who we are. They're looking at people their own age. That's what they're interested in.
I know. Well, I see what you're saying. It's everybody that I met at the show was, they look like me with a beard and a belly. So it's the meeting of the bellies, and I have a beard and a belly, so everybody looks like me. So it was it was a lot of fun. I don't get it, and then it's funny. I either get like guys that look like me, or I get guys that look like me with their young kids, and the young kids are always like shy, and then they walk around, and then at the end of the day, they'll get out of their shell a little bit, and then they come back and ask for like a spray stencil or something. It was a really nice time. I mean, obviously, I was at an event where it was just about like what we do. If you guys were there, you would have gotten tons of love. Everybody was asking about you, and a lot of people watching, a lot of people listening to the podcast, and getting a lot out of all of us. So it was really sweet to hear that.
Yeah, the timing was unfortunate that the 2 events took place at the same time. And one of the things that I look forward to at VidCon is the after hours and the talking with the other people, the little get-togethers, and you learn so much from the one-on-ones that you get. And this year, because of heightened security, it made it a little bit tougher because you couldn't even get into other hotels without proper credentials. Like there was security everywhere, so it was a little harder to meet up with people. And we made it happen. and there just seemed to be a lot more people, and classrooms were filling up faster. And so I got shut out of a couple classes because I got there too late. And but it was a good experience. I'm glad I went, and debating whether to go on next year or not. But I got some stuff out of it. It just my expectations were too high this time.
Yeah, well, last year you guys came back with very enthusiastic ideas and very inspired. Is there anything? I mean, I'm sure you got something. Like, can you guys cite anything specific that you might have come away with this time?
I think last year there was one. I mean, there were a lot of things that inspired us, but there was one talk that we went to, especially that I think gave us both a whole lot of information. It was about the YouTube algorithm, and it was a guy who's done a bunch of research, and he wrote this paper, and he talked about like what it did and how to work around it and how to use it and all this stuff. And it was good, actionable information. So this year, the same guy had another talk on the same topic, and it was part 2. And so I thought, great, here's another like brain dump of a bunch of information. It turned out it was basically the same with updated numbers. And so that was like right off the bat, my expectation was I'm going to go away with a whole bunch of new knowledge, and I didn't. There were some that were good. There were some talks that were helpful and gave some information, but overall, I'm with David. It was like far more about the after hours, getting to meet people and hang out with people and talk and like share stories and figure out ideas and stuff. The talks themselves felt like there were fewer of them this year. I'm not sure if that's actually true or not, but it felt like it. And it felt like the ones that I went to anyway were a little fluffy and didn't have a whole lot of meat to them. Like one of them was from it was Facebook put it on, and then right after Instagram put one on, and they were talking in the descriptions. They were like, Facebook video, like, and how it's going to affect creators moving forward. So I'm thinking like, cool, they're actually going to give us some stuff like how to use Facebook in a way that makes us money. And the whole thing was just a marketing. Hey, we're Facebook. We like you. We want you to tell stories.
Did they teach you how to steal videos?
They a couple times said things like, and soon we're going to enable it so that creators can monetize their stories that they're telling. And I'm like, okay, great. Here comes the information. And then they would just move on to something else. I'm like, come on, man. Like, you're just stringing people along as a marketing ploy. And I don't know. The Instagram basically did the same thing. They showed off how these certain video creators or certain, I don't even know what they are. These people who are really popular on Instagram. Look, these people are really popular on Instagram. There was no information of how they got to be that way, what they did to build the following or to spread their whatever. And they all fit within a very specific demographic and content type. And there was actually a guy at the end that stood up and said, like, everybody you showed up there is like within 5 years of each other age-wise. They're all targeting the same people. What about the rest of us? Like, how do we use this platform? And they didn't have a good answer. And so I felt like that was a lot of the sentiment towards a lot of the talks that I went to were very just like, you're targeting, and I'm not saying anything bad about any group of creators or anything like that. That's not the point. But I think a lot of people, a lot of companies there and a lot of talks were targeting a certain age group, a certain look, a certain type of content, and didn't really seem to have any information about anything else.
What age group?
We all fall into that anything else. A good 20 years younger than us, at least.
That would mean 30 years younger than me.
So, I don't know. I mean, it was good. I had a good time. I think David said one time it was about a day too long, and I totally agree with that. It's like a little bit long. But I guess the expectation for me was, I would be getting a bunch of information, and I would get to hang out with people. Turned out I just got to hang out with people, and I got a little bit of information. So...
Well, I approached Oklahoma on the evening of the first day. I got there late because I drove to Louisville, so that was 800 miles, and then I drove another 600 miles the next day. So it was a 1,400 mile straight in one direction. So I got there that evening, and so but when
Can you explain what the event is and where it was and what it was called for people who might not know?
Okay. Yeah, sure. So it was called the Skiatook, which is where it was in Skiatook, Oklahoma, a video woodworkers event or the Wood Show. It was the most generic name. I know Nick Ferry was trying to come up with a good name, and we were joking about Woodstock, wood this, and it just the Wood Show, and that's when I drove into the fairgrounds. There was signs that said the Wood Show, and we followed these arrows all the way to the campgrounds. So Nick got it in his mind. He said, we've done these shows in Kansas City, and there was a Cincinnati show I didn't go to, but when we all get together, we have all these cool machines around us, and we can't really use them because we make too much of a mess, and the guy with the sawmill takes up a parking spot outside, and like one person goes and watches them, so these guys came up with the idea, let's have an event where people can drive up with their truck, bring a chunk of wood, slab it up while we're there, hang out, maybe chisel it, maybe router it, maybe chainsaw it. And so there was all this event happening out in the open in a campground in Skiatook, Oklahoma. And there was a lot of demonstration going on, a lot of machines, a lot of electric, some welding, some grinding, and all this type of stuff that would have been much more restricted inside of an event. Inside of a housing, And the other thing is that we camped. I ended up sleeping in my car the first night just because it was so off the beaten path. When I finally got there at about 9 o'clock just to see and say hello to everybody initially, I was like, I'm not going back out into the town to try and find it. Because it's a small town. There's like 2 hotels, and I was like maybe 20 miles away from them. So I was like, I'm just going to stay here. I slept in my car. But we ended up hanging out all night, which is really the good part about it, is that we ended up hanging out. I got there at 9. Nobody decided to break up and go to sleep until 2:33 in the morning. Till then, Jay Bates was there. Jay was building a table, a workbench. We all kind of chipped in on working on Jay's workbench, and I slept in my car the next morning. I woke up at about 8 and got myself together, put on some clothes. It began to get hot right away, and then people started showing up, and I literally talked all day long. I did not stop talking, and I walked around the show. I met so many people, so many beautiful, wonderful people, and a lot of demonstrations. There was a bandsaw sawmill and a chainsaw sawmill. You'll see him in the vlog. But it was nice to talk to both of those guys, Ted, and then the other guy whose name I don't recall, but he was really cool, telling me about the difference between a chainsaw mill. And people were bringing all kinds of slabs of wood. I left with a truck full of slabs of wood. Jay has a piece of pecan, and I have the other half of that. And it was great. And, just all us hanging out and, just sharing ideas. And I met a lot of guys. I met a guy named George who's a CNC expert in the wood world. And he gave me some insight on some new CNC companies that are about. And it was great. The one thing I learned above and beyond was that I need to get more organized. I met a guy named Charlie who makes this company called Fantasy Dice. And he credited me, which was an honor, because this guy has his existence so dialed in. He makes dice for Dungeons and Dragons. He makes these beautiful dice out of exotic woods, and they're laser with inlaid gold and stuff. And he has his system so dialed in. He had half of his factory there in his spot, and he was making dice all day long out of exotic woods. And he gave me some real good insight into organizing and getting your own little manufacturing thing going. And then again, Tim wasn't showing at the show. He came, and then the next day I went and visited his factory, and I got the same insight from him, is that I just need to get my stuff more organized. And now, once the move is over, that's going to be my goal, is to try and organize the ice pick production, organize some new products that I'm going to try and make myself, and of course, upgrade my video production. But it was really good, just hanging out and fire. Someone was playing a guitar, and I got to meet a lot of young video creators that are just starting, and guys with young channels, guys that I met a couple months ago in Atlanta. And it's like we're all old friends already, and it's really, really nice. And you guys were ever present the entire time. Your names came up almost minute to minute. Everyone just talking about you guys and everybody. Everybody in the community. So it was a lot of fun. It really was. It was a lot more fun than I expected, because I'm like, oh, I just hope it doesn't rain. I'm cranky. I drove so far, and I'm like, oh, as I pull up, I'm like, is it over? I hope it's not over. I still see trailers here. I didn't even know when it ended, when it started, because everybody got there a few days before me because they had to set up. A lot of guys came with trailers full of tools and lathes to do stuff and make things, and I didn't honestly have the time to even think about to pack tools. I just brought old tools to give away, so I brought a lot of stuff to give away from my new spot. After the move, I had a lot of things I don't need, so I gave away a lot of tools. I sold a lot of ice picks. I gave away a lot of stencils, and other guys had stuff to make, but they spent a lot of time talking. I spent the whole day talking, but talking and meeting and shaking hands, and it was hard to make something while you're busy talking and shaking hands and answering questions about your YouTube channel. So everybody had really big intentions, but they had a difficult time completing projects because there were so many people that I talked to. It was a really good turnout, and I think I missed the first day, so it sounded like the first day was a good turnout. And right away at the end of the day, everyone's like, okay, where's it going to be next year? And they want to try and do it in upstate New York next year, so they kind of leaned on me to try and find a venue. So I have a couple of ideas.
It's always a good feeling when you leave those events and you're, like you said, you're inspired to do this and that, and it brings back some of that energy. I do have, I said a lot of negative things about VidCon, but I do have a lot of things that I want to do, and it helps kind of refuel me and get me back into production mode and think about things that I haven't been thinking about, for a while, as far as like YouTube optimization and website stuff and Facebook video and all kinds of stuff like that. So I'm ready to go.
Yeah. I definitely got some good stuff out of it as well. I mean, I was motivated. I think just the comparison of last year was the thing that I was trying to point out. I certainly wasn't trying to be negative about VidCon. I think for me, like, the move is just, it's taking up like 90% of my brain. So it's hard for me to feel super motivated about, planning or preparing work stuff when I'm thinking so hard about, like, in what order do we need to work on the house so that we can live in it?
There's so many things that have to happen before your to-do list. And, your YouTube to-do list is the one thing, and everything between now and that first project is moving. Yeah, and we're all going through it.
And, like, getting the shop in place, I mean, like, I don't know, just, I can drag everything in there, but I can't make anything, I gotta, it's gotta be in at least kind of the right place or in a way that's usable. I gotta make sure there's power where I need it, stuff like that. And those are things I can't really figure out till I get there.
Hey, let me ask you guys something. The older I get, the lazier I get. When someone says, "Hey, I'm going to send you a brand new saw stop," I'm like, "That's amazing." And then the second later, I'm like, "Oh, it's going to come with like a truck full of packaging. I'm going to cut open the box. And I got to throw away 20 pounds of blow foam. I got to make sure I save every bolt and put it together right." Like that in my mind, like that's such a downer. Is having to put these things together. Every time I get a big machine, I'm like, ugh, it's impossible. I had to put that generator together. If I don't do it now, it's going to sit in pieces for weeks. Spent the whole day putting it together. I have to take my other saw stop apart now to get it out of the basement. On the old Deltas, you used to be able to take the entire deck off. The middle and both side leaves and the rails that carry the T-square. Do you guys happen to know, have you taken your saw stop apart? Because when it comes, that middle leaf, sorry, my little doggy's whining. That middle leaf is attached. Does that middle leaf have to come, does it have to stay on?
It doesn't, it comes attached?
Yeah,
mine came attached.
Yeah, the middle leaf is on the saw. And like I said, if there's 4 bolts under that. I can just take off those 4 bolts and the entire thing will come off, I think. I don't know if there's any electronics attached to it. I can't imagine there would be, but I'm thinking maybe they just send the leaves on the side. You understand what I'm saying? Like when I got the machine, I opened it up and I bolted the left leaf on and the right leaf on, and then the railings that carry the square. Yeah. And now all I want to do is just take the 4 bolts and take all 3 things off at the same time and keep them all locked together with the rails and everything, so I don't have to take everything apart. Because if I take the leaves off, I got to take the rails off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That would be a heavy top. I mean, the top of that thing all put together is a lot of weight.
It is. I'd rather be between me and a couple of my strongmen around me, I'd rather move that than take out all those screws and run the risk of losing them. And
yeah. Well, I got to do mine on like Thursday, so I'll let you know.
Well, I'm doing mine tonight, so
okay. Let me know.
I will let you guys know. I didn't know if you had taken yours apart yet, but yeah,
no, not yet.
We'll see. I just don't want to take the rails off. I'm just being lazy, That's all.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about expectations a little bit. So it sounds like we both had certain expectations going into, or all 3 of us had them going into the 2 different events. Yours worked out to be better than your expectations, and ours worked out to be a little less than our expectations.
Yeah.
I mean, and like, what do you think about that? Is that fair to go into an event, with an expectation of how it's going to go or what you're going to get out of it?
I think it's human.
Yeah. I knew the undertaking, and I knew, the funniest thing is I drove in to this event. Ted Alexander lives in that neighborhood, and he's the one who found this park, and it seemed to be between him and Nick trying to organize it. They found that this would be like the easiest one to deal with, like the least amount of red tape, because they still did have to get insurance and food and trash and police and all this stuff that goes along with trying to hold a public event. And I got Sean Stone. I got to town and Sean Stone texted me the final address, and I got there, and he goes, "Oh, go past the baseball fields." And so the signs are stuck in the ground. They're like little wires, and it says "Wood Show" that way. And I followed the signs, and one of them had blown and twisted. And so I followed, I'm like, okay, so follow the sign that way. And I turned, and I drove into this maybe 1 acre size pebble driveway. It was like the community baseball fields and playgrounds. But behind all of that was the real field. But I drove into this little pebble driveway, and I drove to the end, and I made a U-turn, and there was not one person there. I was like, is this it? Did I really miss it? I kind of had the suspicion I was so late that I missed it. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I drove all the way here to this empty parking lot. I said, this can't be it. So I drove back and I looked at the sign. I'm like, wait, if the sign wasn't twisted, it would still be facing the wrong way. And I was totally confused. And then at the very end, I saw a gate, like a closed gate with a lock hanging on it. And I remember Sean Stone said something about a lock. And so I drove all the way up there. And then just around the bend, I saw all the campers. I was like, oh, okay, I'm in the right spot. But for 1 second, I was like, I just drove 30 hours. And I missed it, and nobody told me. I didn't hear from Nick. I didn't hear from anybody. They didn't even say how come you're not here yet? We're about to close up. But obviously, I was just, the sign was misinforming me. But when I saw everybody hanging out, and they we saved your hamburgers, it was really sweet. It was a lot of fun. I met a whole group of new people, new young YouTubers that I never would have met unless we all got together in the same spot.
Yeah.
And just like you guys find, you meet people and you're like, oh, you're the guy whose meme is the dog. Yeah, that's me.
Right.
And somebody you've been talking to for, a couple of years, you finally see their face and oh my God, I know you very well. I'm surprised, I just didn't even know what you look like,
Right.
So there was a lot of that, which was cool.
I think any time where you have a time and money commitment, there's going to be high expectations. Because, you buy the ticket to the events and you fly out there and you're away from family and work for 4 days, you're going to have high expectations.
Yeah. You're going to at least want to get a certain amount of stuff out of it.
Well, you know what? When I was driving there,
sure.
When I was driving there, I was close to Cleveland, and I thought to myself, oh, wow, I'm only 20 miles away from Lincoln Welding. I was like, oh, if I go there, that's going to put me in Louisville at midnight. I was like, you know what? I'm here now. I called Craig. Craig said, come on over. Oh, I can't believe you're in town. Hung out with Craig for 45 minutes. It was perfect. We talked about some business. He showed me around the plant for a few minutes. I got to see some new stuff. We talked about a few new projects. It was the perfect stop-off. And so, if I got nothing but that out of it, that face-to-face, I got to meet a couple of his associates and some of his bosses. And, they all talked about how happy they are with the YouTube presence as far as Lincoln Welding. And my contribution, so that was worth it. So that was just that was an hour before I got. That was just an hour excursion on my way to Louisville the first night. And then I saw my close friend Bobby in Louisville. We spent some time together, which is always good. And then once I was actually in Oklahoma, I made that. I was like, you know what? I wanted to just wake up and hit the road immediately, but I went and hung out with Tim, which was really rewarding, and I got to meet SV Seeker, and there was a couple of guys there that I got to meet, hanging out and working with him, and I was so happy that I did that. Just those couple things, even without the event, it made the drive and going all the way out there worth the trip. So
that's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked out where you also had a good event that you went to, but maybe even just being open to other experiences on a trip like that or at an event that you're not really expecting, but that are probably all around you the whole time. I mean, I know David and I both got to hang out with a lot of other YouTube people that we wouldn't ever get to see in any other place. We wouldn't ever get to sit down and have pizza with these people in any other place. And whether we were expecting that or not, those were really good times and good conversations and good memories that, they were ancillary to the actual thing that we went to, but they were still really valuable. So, yeah, expectations are tough. I mean, it's hard not to, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a clue into why people act the way they act in YouTube comments. It does me anyway. Granted, they don't have the time and money commitment
Well, did you see
it justifies it.
I didn't notice it. I didn't know this was a big. I watched the video, Casey's video about him going to France and being the summertime Samsung thing, and I was like, oh, that's kind of odd. He made it into a commercial. That's cool. And then I didn't realize it was such a big deal until I watched Philly D talk about how mad people got about it. You guys know what I'm talking about?
No.
Casey Neistat did this video about summertime, and it was him. It was like it had a weird tone because he kind of did this like amped up voiceover over it. It sounded a little awkward, talking about his summertime fantasy, and it showed him and Jesse driving around with a couple of girls that were not their wives, and everyone's like, "Oh, what are these guys like? Were they acting?" Like it was kind of weird. And then at the end, it said the whole video was shot on a Samsung phone, so it was a Samsung ad shot, and everybody got mad because they expected it to be a vlog, and it wasn't a vlog. So people's expectations got kind of shook, and
so were they entertained?
No, they were mad. People like the gut reaction was, "I'm mad. I was just duped. I just watched a commercial." So if Casey opened the episode with saying, "This is a commercial for Samsung. Look at this beautiful video we shot on the phone," and then went into it, everybody would be like, "Oh, okay. I expect that this is an ad. This is what you just told me." But they expected it to be one of his vlogs, and it didn't say. You know how we're all told by our advertising clients, you must say this is an advertisement. This is a product placement. And none of that existed in the ad. Except at the very end, it said everything you just watched was shot on a Samsung phone. So therein lies the expectations. How you develop this camaraderie with your audience and the people that follow you, and they have a certain expectation. And when you go outside that, or they just people. I know I did, and I didn't care. I didn't get upset at all. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That was a commercial I just watched. Kind of an odd way of going about it, but whatever. Casey's going to do 1,000 other videos in the next year, so this is just another one. But people, I'm unsubscribing from you. I feel cheated. So it's like,
well, that brings up something. Have you guys ever made a video that didn't meet the expectations of the major part of your audience?
Where you got every video I've ever made?
Well, I mean, you get a lot of love, and then you also get a lot of hate or negativity. But is there any one particular video that stands out?
The one video that I remember is I made a hammer with like a handle. This is a couple years now. I made a hammer with a handle clip on the side, and everyone's like, "Oh, that your hand's gonna have a hole worn in it if you use that." So I made this little like answer video where I just hammered Diresta into a big block of wood with it was almost like 120 nails that spelled out Diresta. And oh my God, people like, oh boy, that was the biggest waste of time I ever saw. But it was only like 3 or 4 minutes long. It was like one of the first shortest videos I'd ever done. And it was funny. Steve Ramsey wrote to me privately, and he said, yeah, because you can't do too many of those too often. People get mad at you when you just make like a senseless video. Just to show how the hammer worked. And it was almost like now, because I'm vlogging, it would just be like, I would speed it up to be like a 30-second thing in a vlog. But I made it into a 4-minute video of me hammering nails. So people got mad at that. It's still on. It's still on the channel. It was the most dislikes I'd ever gotten. So it hurt a little bit. I was like, ooh, wow, I guess I need to manage people's expectations. I got to really take a close look and do what they expect.
Bob, I could be wrong, but I want to. I have this memory of you doing a video maybe a year or two ago, and the full thing was it a paid product review? Am I thinking of you or somebody else?
I've never had a paid product review, I don't think.
Or an overview. Okay.
I mean, I've done some like overviews of things that were paid, but I see so my approach to this is to title things differently. So in my channel, I try to create branded shows so that when somebody sees the branding of that show, they understand the expectation. So like my normal project videos are the thing that, happens every week. And then I have like Maker 101. And the reason that is called Maker 101 is so when somebody sees that title or sees that thumbnail, they know that it's going to be different. I also have Crash Test, which is like product review and overview stuff. And same thing there. When they see that word Crash Test, they should know the expectation should be set through that title that this is not a project. This is me talking about a product that's, I've gotten for free or I bought or whatever. And so I try to kind of get around that natural expectation. And when people see a project video, they think the next one's going to be a project. I'll try to get around that by titling things and branding things in a way that kind of resets their expectation for that particular video. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, a lot of people, when I put one of those out, they're usually in addition to my normal content, but when I put it out, people are like, "Oh, why don't you ever make projects anymore?"
Yeah.
I'm like, you mean like last Thursday?
Totally the same thing. It's like, stop talking. I get that all the time. Stop talking, make something. I'm like, I put a video up yesterday.
Yeah, that's kind of strange, and I think maybe that speaks to something entirely differently. But to your original question, I've had a couple of sponsored videos where the brand said, like, we have a material that we want you to use in a project. So I had to come up with a project to use a specific material, which does make it a little less authentic. But at the same time, I'm still coming up with a project. I'm still coming up with a use for a material. And there was one time with a insulation company, and they had this sound baffling insulation. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I do a lot of recording. I can make a little, baffling unit to put around my microphone, like a wraparound thing. And it wasn't something that I needed. It wasn't something that really anybody needs, given your room. But it was like, hey, here's a thing I can do with that product just to show what it does. And I wasn't really feeling it, but it was money, and it was a decent project that somebody else might find useful. And so I made that one, and I got a lot of flack for it. Not hate or anything, but there were a lot of like, this seems unlike you, or this seems like a weird choice, or like, I wouldn't have done it that way. I'm not sure why you chose to use this particular material. You know what I mean? Like why did you use that brand of insulation in this thing? And the answer was, because they paid me to use it and make a project around it. But
right. Was that present in the beginning?
Like,
did you present it like that, or did you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always really clear about that. This is sponsored by so and so, and I think that when I even started it with, like, it's sponsored by this company, and I'm going to use their product in this project. So here we go. Blah blah blah. I try to be really upfront about the sponsorship stuff. But I think sometimes people can see when a situation like that is not. It's not like I came up with a project and then went and found a sponsor to give me what I needed to do the project. It was flipped around, and I think that played a little bit. So I try to be really careful about not doing that type of thing anymore, even though it was well intentioned. I mean, it's not like I was trying to pull anything over on anybody, but
yeah, I got a situation like that. I got to make a DeWalt video, and they have these saw blades that last twice as long, so I have to cut into material that has nails and stuff in it. So it's going to be obviously clear that it's a commercial, and now that I'm talking about it, the 10 people that listen to this that watch my YouTube channel are going to know that it's going to be an ad. But I have to go find material that's going to make a good example for using these saw blades that can cut through metal and wood at the same time.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
You should take that board that you nailed in Diresta.
Oh, yeah.
cut through that with your saw blades.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Get a nice callback to that old video too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is a very good idea. Because if I cut it halfway, it would say Diresta on the front and the halfway through point in a different way. Ooh, wow! All right, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
The gears are turning.
Send you commission.
I want 10%. Yeah. Right.
I'll send you a free saw blade. They sent me like 30.
Oh, nice.
I'll send you one.
There you go. Oh, that's not fair.
So it's interesting, Bob, that you have branding and titles for your different types of videos, because setting expectations for my audience is not something I think about a whole lot, where I put out the videos and once in a while I change the format, and then I will get either positive or negative feedback, or usually both. But I've never really thought about setting expectations for my audience too much.
Yeah, I have two title things that I do the same thing with.
I mean, I think about that type of stuff way more than I need to. I can fully admit that.
No, but I think it's smart, because you're setting a category without having to have 3 or 4 different channels. I mean, that's why my vlogs always has a number in it, which is the sequential number that it is. And then when I repost, I do that as one. And then when I do my old reposting videos from my old client channels, I always say, explicit warning, this is an old video. And I'll leave that in parentheses after the title for maybe 2 weeks, and then I'll go back in and I'll slowly delete them. But that's just so, like, the first 2 weeks, people will see it and go, "Why have I seen this before?" And then they always, "Would you run out of ideas? Why? I don't understand why you're reposting all videos." And then everybody jumps on them and says, "You see, he sells these videos, so my fans all defend me. So he sells these other channels, then he gets to put them back on his channel." And then some people that are snarky, they'll go, "Oh, that makes perfect sense. I didn't realize it. I'm sorry that I opened my mouth," but they can't help themselves. And I say. They go, "Why do you do this? I got this into my feed. Why did I click on this? I saw this 5 years ago." The title says old video. So I'm sorry that I made you waste 3 seconds of your life.
Well, the reason I do that type of thing, it's born out of just experience of putting up a video and seeing the same. I do this a lot now that I think about it. So when I put up a video and I get a lot of the same question underneath it, a whole bunch of times, then on the next video, I'm thinking, how can I pre-answer that question so that I don't have to answer it a million times? Mm-hmm. And so I've found that a lot of the things, this is kind of related, a lot of the things that I say to the camera at the beginning or at the end of a video are me trying to figure out what is it that people are going to say over and over and over in the comments? What are they going to ask about over and over and over? And then address that in my speech so I don't have to deal with it over and over and over in the comments, right? And the same thing came out, the titles and the thumbnails and stuff came out of that as well. If I put up a product review, because I think I built a 3D printer, and it wasn't really a project because I bought the 3D printer, but it was still kind of I was putting something together, and I got a bunch of questions about is this a review or is this a project? I'm confused because it's kind of both. It's kind of, and I did the same thing with the X-Carve, the first video I got. And so that let me know I need to be a little more clear ahead of time so that they know what they're expecting. And so some of the different branding things came out of that type of thing. Me trying to, me being lazy, I guess. Me trying to not have to answer a whole bunch of comments about the same thing. So, but like I said, I know that I think through all that stuff a little bit more than I probably need to.
Well, that's not being lazy. That's just anticipating the questions you're going to get. And you're feeling the need for those questions to be answered. So.
Yeah. Another trick there that's related to that's come up lately is that you can pin comments now. Mm-hmm. And so I'll watch the comments of my videos when I first put them up, the first hour or so, and anything that comes up a bunch, I'll answer it in a comment and then pin that comment to the top of the...
I'm using that feature wrong, and I know it. But I will pin... I shouldn't even talk about this. I will pin a bad comment of somebody calling me out or saying I'm an idiot and just let the other people eat away at that guy until he deletes his comment. Yeah. I've done this 3 times now, and I know it's wrong, but it's so fun to see people stand up for me. I'm not going to do it anymore.
I think people will stand up for you regardless, but that's like dragging somebody into the town square.
Yeah, I'm shaming them. I shouldn't do that. I'm better than that. Yeah. I apologize to myself.
Now forgive yourself. You guys get along. You guys got anything else about expectations or anything else along these lines? I don't want to beat a dead horse.
Yeah. Are you guys?
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, are you guys feeling that you're meeting your own expectations?
I don't. I think I need to work a little bit harder.
Why do you say that?
Yeah, in what way?
I wish I could put out more videos more often. It's right now I'm just so disorganized. It's hard, and meeting seeing Tim's organization and how it is, and then Charlie's stuff at Fantasy Dice, and just seeing and hearing his conversation, and him saying it. He goes, look, I wasn't born this way. I got this way by trial and error, and I just need to get out of my own way, honestly, and just manage my time more. But I am feeling that it's only temporary because I started moving in January, and that's when I'm on this kind of long graduated slope of not getting good content out and slowly not answering emails on time and that kind of stuff. So I think once I'm settled, I'm looking forward to getting back into a normal routine. And I'm never in my shop for 2 days in a row. I'm head there in the morning, and the next day I'm upstate. And right now my shop is upstate. But I don't know, basically after all this moving, and I'll be up there in a few hours, and I'll be organizing, and I'll be back in the city tomorrow organizing the mess that's here. So it's only just a couple of more days temporarily, and then I'll be able to make some good content. I have some really good ideas. A lot of people have said, your content, you're not getting the views you were getting. Your content is not great. I'm like, I'm doing the best I can with the time that I have in between everything else, and so that's why I
just the travel time
Yeah.
lately has got to be. I mean, that's eating a huge amount of your week just in the car.
Yeah.
And you can't be that productive,
Well, that's why. I mean, I honestly only drive in the middle of the night. I leave here at midnight, get up there at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, get up at like 9 or 10 in the morning, and then go to work, and then leave there at 1 midnight and get here. So that's easy. I mean, so I consider like if like the average person sleeps 8 hours, I usually drive 3 and sleep 5. So that's okay for me. Even though in the sense it's a crazy logic, but that's how I justify it to myself. It's like I bookend my driving and sleeping.
So you said a couple times that you weren't organized. Like, what is it specifically that you're having trouble with organization, or that you have seen? Is it like your time? Is it your materials? Is it your planning? Like,
all of that. Yeah, honestly, all of that.
Oh, okay.
No, and
that narrows it down.
But it's really just because I'm moving. It's like I'm hustling here, I'm hustling there, and I talked a little bit. Started a company with Howard. Howard and I are going to make a product company. So a lot of the emails that were going unanswered, Howard is taking care of now, because I have a couple of products in development, a couple of small licensing deals, and I was just letting them linger and like not doing anything about them because I don't have the time. I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know what the right deal is. And so now Howard is analyzing all of that. He's handling all of that. He's talking to my merchandise people, my person that handles my merch. Now they're talking, so I don't have to talk as so much. So like the way you guys hired editors, Howard and I just went into a partnership, and he's handling that. So that's been a good relief for me. And I had no idea how much I made on my merch in the last 12 months. He knows the exact number now. And he's like, we got to triple that, and we got to do this, and we got to do more shirts, and we got to do better hats, and all this kind of stuff. And and then that's one thing. But I also am going to introduce like original products to the mix, like the push stick and the ice pick, and just simple stuff that's going to be cleverly introduced through the videos. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm glad I have help with that organization. And then once I'm settled upstate, I think I'll be able to get my own groove back. So.
What about you, David? Are you meeting your own expectations?
In some areas, yes. Some areas, no. I think the quality of my videos, I'm meeting my expectations. I feel like the videos I put out over the last 2-3 months have been my best videos. I think they have a good flow to them. I think they're entertaining. I think some of the projects, the subject matter of the video, I could be a little bit more creative with. I think I could come up with some more unique projects. I think I'm doing something unique and different from everybody else, but I think I could take it to the next level. And then some other things, I'm just completely not meeting my expectations as far as my website stuff and some optimization stuff. I think my business would be doing better if I spent the time to fix the website, work on some of how my older videos and descriptions and thumbnails and all that. And I just get overwhelmed with things to do, and I'm not in a position where I can hire somebody else to help me out right now. And so some things have to just get put on the shelf.
Yeah. It's understandable. Yeah, for me, I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. I do think that I've noticed over the past several months, and I'm not sure if it's related to moving in preparation for that or not, but I do feel like I'm rushing through the videos a lot. I feel like I'm working so hard to try to get content out and get ahead, and I feel like I'm just going through them, and I'm not thinking so much about what's the most interesting way to show what I'm about to do.
Yeah.
It's where can the camera fit in this room? Well, there's nothing in that 2 feet of floor right there. It can go right there. So I just put it there and just okay, focus, go. And I feel like I'm doing that. Whereas I used to think a lot more what's the best way for me to transition from what they were just looking at to what they're about to look at. Mm-hmm. So I do want to make sure that I get back to that as a focus, and maybe having more room will help with that. Maybe just having a different, scene, a different place will help that a little bit. I'll be forced to rethink how things look. But I mean, I'm meeting my expectations as far as like the quantity of content, and I think the quality is still there, but I think I'm missing some of the dynamic part of it, like that makes it really, that can make it more interesting. Like I don't know if it's ever been interesting or not, but you know, like I think some of the stuff that can make
how many subs do you have? 2 billion.
But I think a lot of the things that can make it interesting, I'm not prioritizing. You know what I mean? And so that's a little bit, as I recognize that about myself, it's something I definitely want to do a better job of. But yeah, I don't know. Having the move out of the way for all three of us is going to be huge, and you know, we'll have a period of the dust settling, but then after that, I think it's going to be good for everybody.
Yep.
So.
Definitely.
You sound like Rain Man.
Definitely better. Definitely dust settling. Definitely.
That's good.
Well, you guys want one last thing, and because we talked about it on Father's Day. My dad, I love my dad, and I wouldn't be where I am without him. But my dad always took a safe approach to everything. His dad is from the Depression era, so he always took a safe approach to everything. Get a job with benefits. You sure you want to go to art school? Go to art school, but also take the police test in case art doesn't work out. I said, I would never be a policeman. That's just not in my makeup. I would rather sweep the floor than do that. That's just not what I would ever do. He's like, this one makes a great living. I know. I go, no, but that's what he likes to do. I said, it's not something I would like to do. So I grew up with this contention going back and forth. So my dad, when we were kids, he made this saying on a piece of wood, and we grew up in my house, in my kitchen. My brother even talks a little bit about it in his comedy routine. My dad made the sign. It says, he who expects nothing ain't going to be deceived. And it wasn't until like one day, me and my brothers, we sitting around dinner like 25 years later, and we're discussing that saying. It's like, don't expect anything and everything will be okay. Instead of like opening up your expectations or your ambitions, open your ambitions, your expectations, and try and go outside your comfort zone. So we grew up with that saying on the wall, he who expects nothing ain't going to be deceived. It's obviously very cynical, and my dad is a cynical comedian in a way. So we always joke about that. Like when, my brother John just did a great audition. We just did a big audition with a big, huge Hollywood movie star. It's probably not going to work out because the chances of those things working, it's like buying a scratch-off lottery ticket. But he did get the opportunity to do the audition. But we all have that in the back of our mind of like, he who expects nothing ain't going to be deceived. So it's like, whatever, I did it. Nothing's going to happen. So it's just a funny thing that my dad kind of implanted that in us as kids, unknowingly. Like my dad would make all these silly quotes and put them on the wall, and he was almost trying to be funny when he did that. But you know, that comes from a place of like real insecurity. So
yeah,
that sign is in my garage, and when I find it, I'm going to hang it in the workshop. So
nice.
He who expects nothing ain't going to be deceived.
Expectations are not bad. I don't think, because especially in yourself, they drive you to do something that you are not already doing, right? Because
that's what I'm saying. It's like it opens your ambition up.
Yeah, I think the big thing is not letting where it can bite you is being upset about the fact that those expectations weren't met in yourself or in others. Yeah.
Right. Instead of going back and saying, okay, how can I approach the next opportunity differently, or the next chance at the same opportunity differently? How can I get a different result? Instead of just being stuck in the mud, which some people I know are. They're stuck in the mud. They're like, oh, that didn't work out. Oh, my God. Now what am I going to do?
Yeah,
you know what? Forget it.
Right.
Yeah,
right. So I was telling this to somebody this weekend. I don't even remember the conversation or who it was or anything. But when I first started making videos, a lot of them were around wooden projects. And so a lot of people started watching my videos because I was doing woodworking stuff in these projects. But I've never, ever, ever in my entire life claimed to be a woodworker, because I don't think I am. I'm not good at it, right? It's just a thing that I do. It's like the most common material for me to make things out of. And so when I started doing other things, which was the plan all along, but when I started doing other things, I had a lot of comments that were like, go back to the woodworking projects, go back to furniture, go back to the stuff that you did when we first started watching. And I realized that unknowingly, I had set their expectation for what all of my videos were going to be through repetition. I'd showed them woodworking, and so that's what they thought the fourth one was going to be. And so I realized at that point that I had to take control of the expectation of the audience. And so my way to do that was to set their expectation of not knowing what to expect. And I think I've done that.
I like that.
Like the whole goal of me and like I intentionally jump from woodworking to prop to metal. Like every week I try not to let it double up if I can, so that they don't know what they're going to get. And I've had a couple of comments lately that really like it's working. Like one of the comments, like I think 2 videos ago, was something like, I love this channel because I never know what I'm going to get. And I was like, yes, I did it. That was the goal.
That's great.
All along.
That's a great
idea. And it's shown off. So anyway, I say that just to encourage anybody else that is running into that. Like if you want to branch out, do different types of videos, different whatever, and you're getting that blowback, take control of the expectation that you're putting out through what you create, and set it up for the people watching. Be in charge of it rather than letting them, to a degree, as much as you can, instead of letting them kind of build that expectation for themselves. So anyway, that's what I have to say about that. Put that on a sign.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Put that on a sign and read it.
Yeah. I want to point out really quickly that our subreddit for the podcast is doing well. We got a lot of people over there having conversation, and we asked for topics. I asked for topics. I don't know. You guys didn't. I asked for topics over there, and a bunch of people have left topic suggestions under it, and there's more coming in all the time. So if you have ideas for the show and you want to go drop them over there, that would be awesome. And then there's also other conversations happening there as well. Very cool. Evan and Caitlin made us they're called snooze. Have you seen these? Mm-hmm. They're the little character for Reddit, the little round head with the alien-looking dude.
Mine has a wiener dog. Oh, I love it.
They made one for all 3 of us, and it's got like our tools and our colors. Yeah, they're great.
I gotta see that. Is it on one of the videos? Is it one of the channels? Is it channel video?
It's on Reddit. You have to go over to. You actually have to go to Reddit to see it, Jimmy.
How do I find Reddit?
He's like, I don't really care anymore. That's
what is Reddit? Explain Reddit again.
Oh, and then another really cool thing. I'm gonna ignore you. Another really cool thing is that.
I'm kidding. I know.
Sure. Eric, I think his name's Eric. I totally blanked. Made a bot for us that posts the new podcast episodes to Reddit. So if you want to comment on a specific episode, every week, as soon as the show goes up, they show up on Reddit, and you can go over there and talk about them underneath. Isn't that cool?
That's magic.
Yeah.
What?
Really cool of him.
What's Reddit?
And he just did it.
What is Reddit? No, wait. No, obviously I know Reddit is, but tell me so I type in Reddit, and what is the thing?
Oh, the
yeah.
I see. The Reddit, you can go a couple different ways. Reddit.com/r/makingitpodcast or makingitpodcast.reddit.com. Either one works, I believe.
Oh my God.
I could be wrong about that, but
Making It Podcast.
I feel like there are times where you don't want to give the other person a choice. Just tell them the one thing,
That's true. How about I just give you a link, and then you can just click on the link? That work? Either way, everybody else who's listening can go to makingitpodcast.reddit.com and go check it out.
Jimmy's typing it on a typewriter. This is amazing.
All right, send me the link.
Goes across, new line. Also want to thank our Patreon supporters, and I keep meaning to do this at the beginning of the show because I really want them to know that we are thankful for them, because I don't know who clicks away when we start talking about this stuff, but I hope that they know we are really grateful. Especially Make, Build, Modify, Evan and Caitlin, who made the snooze and are moderators of our subreddit. Really cool of them. Jedediah Schultz and Wise Old Dal. But everybody over there, super cool that you support us, and we're really grateful for it. We're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. We didn't talk about what we've been watching. You want to do that?
We can.
Do you? I don't actually have anything, but I'll come up with something really quickly if you have something.
So I don't have a video or a podcast or a book. I have a thing. It's a physical thing.
Oh.
Can we get physical?
Feel free.
Okay.
I'll stay over here.
Olivia Newton-John, is that Let's Get Physical? Anyway,
Yes.
I just got a DJI Spark drone. Holy cow! It is so fun.
Awesome.
It is so cool. I know that drones are expensive, but this is a cheaper model. It's a smaller one, and apparently it's one of the easiest ones to fly. I had no problem. I've never flown a drone before, and I took it out to my dad's property yesterday and shot some footage, and it's so cool.
Awesome.
It is so much fun. And we were shooting a video today, and there was a little spot where we had to shoot the finishing scene outside. We used the drone. And so I got to use it for business, and it's awesome. I like it.
You'll start using
That's
it.
cool.
They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, this little Spark, the cool couple, I know we're running long, but a couple cool little features is you can control it without a controller. You can do gestures. You can tell it to go up, down. You can tell it to take a photo by doing certain hand things. You can make it follow you without a controller. How cool is that?
That's pretty amazing. That's the future right there.
It is.
You want to know one of the
That's great.
expectations you should have is to do a firmware update every time you open it. That should be one of your expectations.
It's asking for one right now. It's funny, and I started it,
I'm not even
and
kidding.
it was like 10 minutes later. It was like 2%. I'm like, are you kidding me? I want to go fly. So
Yeah, totally, it's gonna happen. Like you know, like when you're like laying down, like you're like done with. If you did an edit, you're done. Everything's uploaded. You got nothing to do. You're like, maybe I'll go get Chinese food at 1 a.m. What am I gonna do with myself? That's when you do a firmware update because you're in your apartment. You're not going to fly it. And there's a chance you might fly it within the next 5 days, and then you won't have to do that 30-minute in-the-field firmware update in the wind while the sun's going away.
You still might, just so you know. You still
I know,
might
you
have
still
to do it.
might. You still might. Oh.
Jimmy, you got anything?
Yeah, you know what? I've been watching because I was there and I experienced it myself, and it is an incredible place. The Artisans Asylum, I put it in a vlog during the Making It 100 vlog that we did in December, but recently Adam Savage has been there, so he did 3 videos from the makers from the Artisans Asylum in Boston, which is an incredibly huge, incredibly well-equipped makerspace. So if anybody's in the Northeast Boston area, check out the video on Tested. There's 3 videos about the Artisans Asylum, and Adam's checking out and hanging out and doing all the same, touching all the same tools I touched. And but he took a lot. He made 3 full dedicated videos. I did a 5-minute thing in one of my vlogs about it. So check out the Artisans Asylum. It's one of the most well equipped maker spaces I'd ever been to.
Awesome. Yeah, it looked pretty incredible. So for me, the eclipse is coming up, the big super eclipse thing in August. And I had a couple conversations about it this weekend. And so I wanted to get everybody pointed toward the Smarter Everyday video about the eclipse. It's Destin. He does awesome videos. He explains everything super well and is just really excited about the things that he talks about. So it's kind of infectious. So I want to link to that, and everybody needs to go check it out so that you have time to plan. I'm doing that now so that you have time to plan to be in a place to get the best view of it. Because my understanding is that if you're in like the correct, like in the path of the totality, I think is what they call it, then at one point, it will look like a 360-degree sunrise. Like overhead is black, but there's sunlight on every side. That's kind of crazy to think about. So, yeah, go watch that video.
yeah,
That's what I got. I feel like I had something else I was going to recommend too, and I don't remember what it was now.
were you going to recommend my Keys Wallet Phone song that you got to hear?
That's what it was. How'd you know that? Yeah, I actually got to hear David sing his little song for Keys Wallet Phone in the field. It wasn't practice. He just did it. And I was like, hey, was that your song? He's like, yeah.
Only 2 people have heard it.
Is that by
It
the
was
Backstreet Boys originally?
Yeah. Cool. Well, we've blabbed long enough.
We have. I'm hungry,
Cool.
guys.
Yeah, me too. It's dinner time. Just one last thing. We're not going to have a show next week.
Yes.
In case you were wondering, we are taking a week off because David and I are both moving and Jimmy needs more time. So we're going to take a week off. That's it.
I love time.
He loves time.
We can end it right
See you guys
there.
next week.
Bye.
Click.